everybody. Hello, welcome to our first event of 2025, the 2025 Measurement Blueprint. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. First, a big shout out to all of the speakers ahead of time. Thank you for coming along. Thank you to Google for hosting us. And it's just fantastic to have you all here on this Friday. I also want to say a big thank you to our marketing team because it would just not be possible without them for us to run an event like this. So we are on the last day of January. It is a very rainy Friday. And statistically, some of you have probably already given up on your New Year's resolutions. But what I would like you to do today is take a bit of a pledge, forget those resolutions, and have a think about measurement and what you can pledge for measurement in 2025. Maybe a little bit of like a replacement for your gym membership or something like that. So for those who don't know me, I'm Elizabeth. I'm head of commercial here at Incubeta. Hopefully this is the last time you have to see my face blown up quite so large. And if you can just hold your excitement, I'll just go through a few housekeeping bits. So we'll be running for 3 hours today, but there will be a break in the middle for you to stretch your legs, grab a coffee. We also have a live audience, so I actually don't know where the camera is, but hello to everyone at home. We will be recording today, so please jot down notes so you have your notebooks, but don't worry too much about committing things to memory. You will be able to kind of review all of the content afterwards. Hopefully you've seen our agenda as you've been mingling around, but just as a bit of a recap, we are through the welcome. Hope you all feel welcomed by me. We will then be moving on to opening address and then into some of our sessions, including our measurement blueprint and a chat with some of our lovely clients from the AA and Ambassador Theatre Group. Then we'll have that quick break, as I said. We'll be going into the architecture of effective measurement from Google, a deep dive into MMM, which is definitely a topic that's on everyone's lips this week. And then we'll be moving into our roundtable discussions, which will be your opportunity to have a little bit of a talk about everything you've digested today. So without further ado, I will pass over to Mike. With over 14 years of tenure at Incubeta, he really knows what we stand for and everything that we're trying to do as a business. So please give him a big welcome up to the stage.
I've never seen a measurement event start with Eye of the Tiger. That's very special. Thanks for the introduction, Elizabeth. I'm Michael. Guys, can we zoom the speaker notes, please? I cannot see this. That's better. I'm Michael, guys. Good to meet you. I've been with Incubeta for 14 years, which is a pretty long time. I started my career selling ringtones. So you can sort of guess my age based on that. And I have always stayed with Incubeta largely because of measurement. I was thinking about it this morning, right? Because as a performance marketer, what you learn first is to measure the absolute essence because the rest doesn't really matter, right? But we're in a space where these things sort of start mattering, and they started mattering more and more. And the evolution, I think, that we've seen in the availability of data and the evolution that we've seen in how to access it and what to do with it has been amazing. But sometimes as well, when I speak to our measurement folks, I wonder if we got lost a little bit. And then I saw this fun cartoon, and I'm not necessarily one to slap cartoons on slides, but I thought it was really relevant for today, right? Because this ultimately is what I feel a little bit. I mean, a lot of the measurements we'll discuss today will be around marketing effectiveness, right? And I think marketing effectiveness is about two things. It's measuring what's really essential, and it's making sure that you measure what you want to manage, right? And sometimes I feel that we're lost in a maze of models and opportunities and data availability, and we're measuring things because we can, versus actually mapping it back to business output, right? How much time do you want to spend on improving your performance marketing returns with 1% because you can measure that? While what you cannot measure yet, the creative impact or the impact of brand on your performance totally gets neglected because no one bothered with it, right? There's a massive white space there, and I think that's a really exciting thing for us to explore. And I think, when I built these slides, I was like, I'm not going to talk about AI, but I'm going to talk about AI a lot, guys. Sorry, but it's probably going to be good because I feel that we're entering this post-single metric, post-single model era, right? I mean, I think the availability of data, the quality of accessible data, and how fast and how much we can do with that will allow us to do a lot more, right? It really allows us to move not necessarily into marketing effectiveness or media effectiveness. It allows us to seamlessly move into creative, right? It allows us to seamlessly move into MMM-esque models, because I think the notion of MMM will change a lot over the next 2 years as well, that are always on, that are always there, right? That don't just observe, but that act. And that's why I think the word measurement always is exciting. Measurement for me is something scientific, right? You're observing something and you're writing a result down. But if that's the only thing you do, or people don't really look at what you're writing down, you're not changing a business, right? You're not making a cent more. So I think that notion of actually picking up what measurement can do and activating it and making it the heart of the organization is the interesting piece, and it's the excitement. And the guy on the right, the grumpy guy with the suit, that's ultimately who we need to influence, right? In Incubeta's outperformance story, we really focus on bringing the CFO and the CMO together. And you don't bring them together around a great piece of creative, right? You don't really bring them together around a media strategy. You bring them together around measurement, around data, around facts, right? And ultimately, the glue in that whole process is us. It's the measurement folks, and it's the people who understand marketing effectiveness measurement and media effectiveness measurement that bring that together, because this is the ultimate profit driver, guys. That's important to understand. But I say that, and we're guilty of that ourselves as well. We're in the business of building dashboards, right? And how much dashboards can this poor CFO with his grumpy face tolerate before he goes completely crazy? And I see this a lot in our organization, but also with our clients. We just build these dashboards, and data people get really excited. They're like, yeah, no, on tab 68 we build this really glorious insight, right? That's cool. Who's going to look at tab 68, right? So I think this whole notion of dashboard building is going to change. And what I specifically mean with that is measurement is good, but the story, if you don't tell the right story with it, it's generally, I'm not going to say worthless, that's too harsh, but you diminish the use case massively in an organization, right? The measurement people might get it, but ultimately, if that story isn't good, and if it doesn't stick with the C-level, if it doesn't stick with non-measurement people, you've really achieved very little with your golden metric, right? Because no one looks at it. So that's going to be a key piece. And look, I think this is where AI and smart development of that can do a lot, right? We see massive changes with this in our organization. Not sure if anyone's experimented with Notebook LM as an example. Notebook LM is this really cool thing. It allows you to turn large sets of information that you can host in a single space into podcasts. I'm going to make an admission here. That I haven't made to anyone before. The first time I heard that, it was Google playing it back to us, and it was a super cool 15-minute podcast around our Incubeta strategy. I thought, that's cool. They hired 2 people to record a podcast about it. This is a pretty boomer way of thinking of me, but what it was Gen AI that had analyzed the information, and it had turned it into a 16-minute, easy to digest, super positive, super nice to listen podcast, right? That's great. And imagine how transformative things like that, and this is only the beginning, right? Imagine how transformative stuff like that can be on how we tell these measurement stories, right? I mean, there is no tab 68 in a Looker dashboard anymore. There's a podcast that sits in the CFO's inbox on a Monday morning that has digested that information for him, and that makes it accessible while he walks his dog, right? That's the good stuff, guys. That is the change that we will go through as an organization and as an industry, I think. And I think that's really exciting. And AI does more, right? It allows us to unlock the value of measurement better than ever before, I think. And I mean a few things with it. I mean storytelling, but also mean accuracy, right? And I mean availability of data. It's there for us. We can bring it into a single space, and this Notebook LM example is an interesting one, right? Imagine all of your marketing data, all of your creative data, all of your media plans, all that stuff living in a single space where you run your reporting off of. You have large language models working with you to build better stories around your reports, to recycle media plans, to improve them based on results. That's the world we're moving towards, right? These are not disconnected data sets anymore. They'll come together in a single interface, and they allow us to be much more precise, much more accurate, and I think much more efficient in how we treat these things, right? So there's 5 A's and 2 I's, and they actually make the word AI as well. This stuff, and I'll go into it a bit more deeply later. I believe we need to look at accuracy, we need to look at agility, we need to look at agnostic availability of data, and and this is the most important thing, I think, we need to look at making it actionable, right? And that last piece is so incredibly important, because if you lack that last actionability piece, it can get academic really quickly, you can get dogmatic really quickly, and you lack the insight and the impact that you actually want to drive. I was geeking out on this graph yesterday, and I was like, why don't I just include it? There's a few interesting pieces on here, right? So this is a scattering of different LLM models over the last 2 years. It shows a few things, right? The y-axis is an ELO score. I never heard about an ELO score until yesterday. An ELO score is apparently used to score chess players and large language models. I had no idea. Learn with me here. And you also have a thing which is called the large language model arena, and it actually offsets these large language models against each other, and it scores the intelligence of them. I've learned all of this yesterday, so if you guys will notice, it's great. I learned it yesterday, and I'm really excited for it. But what it does, right, and a few things are interesting that really stood out for me. This guy really stands out for me, right? I mean, if you imagine the velocity that goes from bottom left to top right, which is how smart the models get, right? And you map that out against a 1000x cost decrease. You map it out at proper intelligence at the top, which is a 27x decrease, right? It means that all of these models essentially become commonplace, always on, and really easily accessible, right? And that does a lot for industry, guys. It changes everything, right? I mean, I heard somebody describe AI last week as a really fast intern, which is I mean, first I disagreed, then I sort of agreed. I actually think it's something else. I think it's a bunch of really fast and smart interns. I think it's more than just, but that's what it is, right? And imagine the incredible productivity that we can all unlock with the stuff available to us, right? Imagine how much faster we can move. Imagine how much more quality we can provide in the depth of analysis that we can deliver. And also turning analysis and retroactively looking at things into something that's proactive, right? That's looking forward, to my point before, that's actionable. A few good things to call out here. Gemini 2.0 is all the way up there, so good job, Google. You got DeepSeek is here, by the way, and this Pareto frontier is interesting, right? Because that's the thing that moves on. The Pareto frontier, also learned that yesterday. Essentially, it's the optimum combination between price and solution efficiency, and the Pareto frontier is moving up all the time. So yeah, good stuff, Google. We're happy with you. Ultimately, what are we going to do with this, right? I spoke about accuracy before. When measurement data and marketing data is so available, funnily enough, accuracy matters more than ever, right? Nailing it is really, really crucial. And you don't nail it by building a ton of dashboards. You build it by one, right? It's finding the killer metric within your organization or within the organization that you work for or represent that really needs to nail this, right? Accuracy is incredibly important. And a few things are important. Trash in, trash out is such a key piece here, right? We do these big MMM experiments with clients, and just the level of data they provide us, it's often really shocking, right? The clients come in with this really big notion of wanting to do things, and the level of data that they then provide is literally just Excel exports from somebody from a few years ago, right? It's bad. And ultimately, this is a thing that I think as an industry we need to improve, but also in a much more agile way. We can look at AI to improve that for us, right? Google has fantastic examples of how ETL, which is I think a key piece that AI will disrupt as well, will change based on AI, right? We do a lot of taxonomy mapping. A lot of time that we do before we get to advanced measurement with clients sits in matching the data up, harmonizing it, building taxonomies, making sure it's clean, making sure it imports the right way. That's just plumbing, right? It's not, I always say it's not real. It's important, but it's not real, right? You're not adding value. You're just sorting shit out, which is nice, but that's not business. So I think again, the speed and the accuracy is going to matter a lot. And also, again, the stories you tell can become much more pointed, right? They can really be much more directional. Agility is a really important piece as well. And I think agility sits in a few different things. And it's this continuous evolution, right? I think agility will sit in in how we look at a role AI will play in measurement. It will sit in how we tell stories, right? So I'm now bashing dashboards saying their shit, but ultimately I do believe that as a verification point, they will continue to play a massively important role, right? I'm now saying these Notebook LM podcasts have me fooled, and I'll probably look back at this. I guess I won't. I might look back on what I said here in a few years' time, and I'm like, what an idiot I was. I mean, I knew so little about what we know today, right? And that's the speed of light on which your stuff is moving. It's really important to understand that. The platforms we use today, the storytelling we use today, the approach you have today will not be the same as in 2 years. That's how fast this is changing, right? And that's great, and it's nice. We test out. I think a test and learn mentality is really important. We test a lot of this technology out. We've tested technology that replaces all dashboards with narratives. It absolutely sucks. But again, in a year from now, that stuff won't suck anymore, right? I mean, it sucks right now because the models are not smart enough yet to really do our job, right? To really understand and interpret the data the right way across platforms, across media plans, really draw those conclusions. It's a matter of time. I mean, I played around with, when it came out, I played around with Claude's data analysis agent. Not sure if you guys have played with that. That's insane, you know? And it's not 100% on the money, and it's not 100% accurate, but even if it's 80% accurate and there, right, it's going to disrupt so much of the day-to-day measurement we do, the day-to-day stuff that we do. And again, this is the analogy of the really smart, clever, fast intern. It's gonna completely drive things forward. The agnostic piece is really important as well, right? As much as we will all as an industry embrace Meridian, there's a question to how you need to look at MMM models, right? What do you do in parallel? And I don't think there's a reason anymore to not run several models in parallel, run several scenarios in parallel, right? You have these opportunities because the cost of running it, the efficiency of running it is going down so incredibly quickly. And what's really important there, keep your data in the right place, right? I mean, the concept, specifically speaking about marketing measurement, the concept of walled gardens and how much data we can get out, it's going to dramatically change, right? And I don't think it's going to get better. So ultimately, you need to move that intelligence of analysis somewhere else, right? You take it out of the platforms. You need to take what you can out of the walled gardens. You need to host it somewhere where you can derive that value yourself. Availability is a really important one as well. And for me, availability, like I said, really ties in with the right story at the right moment for the right person, right? Don't give people a dashboard and expect them that they can find what they're looking for. It's not going to work like that, right? Tailor the story, tailor the points. And where we do see a lot of success and pickup is taking the standard reporting that we're delivering to clients or the standard dashboards. And we're asking AI to give recommendations, right? To proactively try steer clients into the right direction. That works really well, and it's a learning process, but that already does a lot, right? Ultimately, the real key to the castle is this guy, right? It's the actionability of things. This is really, for me, and I say that as a non-measurement person, none of measurement matters if you don't solve for this, because you're just observing, right? And that actionability piece is so incredibly exciting. I mean, where I get legitimately excited is trying to think about all of the advanced marketing effectiveness analysis we can do and the real impact that can have on media, but also on creative, right? And let's not forget about creative. There's such a massive amount of disruption that measurement can do there. We'll say, and we all know, creative is responsible for, well, depending on what study you read, 60 to 80% of campaign effectiveness, right? So why are we so obsessed with optimizing media? It's because we can measure it, right? But there's no reason anymore why we can't measure creative, why we cannot go much deeper into that and start correlating these things. I think there's a lot of exciting stuff happening there. And ultimately, that leads us to being more impactful and insightful, right? You need a few things for this. You need good people. You need people who are willing to experiment, who are willing to go beyond, who are willing to be curious, and who are willing to test these things out, right? I think that's incredibly important. And you probably need cross-functional teams, right? And I know creatives and measurement folks don't always gel in the same room together, but those things lead to really good discussions, right? And bringing measurement to the heart of what those teams do and how those teams look at their business, it's going to be absolutely important. And I would implore on all of you to be data stewards in that sense, right? Look out of your teams, look out of your measurement frameworks and measurement boxes, and really focus on that piece of impact, because that's really where the difference is made. How do we make that difference? We make that difference through a fantastically clever measurement blueprint. And my dear colleague, Matt Nixon, who's standing right there, is going to tell you guys something about that. Enjoy the rest of the day, guys.